My name is Miranda, and welcome to the first ever Miranda Speaks Craft Edition. All the time, people see the oddball creations I make, and they're like, "How do you do it?" Well, this is literally how I do it. An idea comes to mind, and I find a way to make it happen. Amidst the chaos of life, you'll probably hear this go off a few times. Door open, close, phone. Crafting and making creations is all about having fun and enjoying it, and you do kind of have to carve out the time for it, but you in the end make something you're pretty proud of. So this, you might find, looks like a crazy assortment of stuff. Well, after all, what does a pool noodle, duct tape, and garland have in common? A homemade Christmas wreath, your family style. You can go to a store and get a really, really pretty wreath that just about everybody has. Green, bow, lights, been done. Not to knock it if it's already on your door, but this is a different idea. Thanks, Mom, for the pool noodle idea, by the way. So, admittedly, finding a pool noodle in December might not be the easiest of tasks you come across. If you can't have one, don't have one. You can make that trip to the craft store in December. Again, not a fun thing to do. And they do make styrofoam rings you can buy. I try to find as much around the house to make whatever it is I'm trying to make without making that trip to the store. It adds an extra level of pride to what you've created, because in the last 3 Halloweens, for all 3 of my family's costumes combined, we probably spent about $50. 3 costumes for 3 years. Just find stuff around the house, or picking up fabric at a thrift store, things like that. So, cheap, cool stuff. Duct tape. Pool noodle. Probably easier to have someone hold this with you, but duct tape's magical, so we'll see if it can work. Doing it. Alright. Another couple loops just for good measure. Alright. Probably not the last we're going to see of that for this project. We have a ring. That doesn't look too appealing on a door, so we're going to need to dress it up. I'm going to save you the boring wrapping time. Guess what I already did? It's 2 25-foot rolls of garland. I wouldn't recommend doing it with one. You'd probably have a lot of bald spots in there, and when you start adding your stuff, you might be creating bald spots. So having a nice dense coil is really good. I didn't use anything to fasten this to it. I started with a loop, overlapped it with the other loops, and when I got to the end, just kind of wove it into the rest of them. It's pretty tightly circled around here, so I'm hoping that it'll just stay together on its own. Fingers crossed. So, the next step is, okay, we have an awesome wreath. You could just hang this on your door if you like. Still not very personal. It's not your family's wreath. My family is big into gaming. We were all gamers. We've always been gamers. I 8-bit all the way to 4K. Is that what's going on? We've played every game system, so we have scraps and remnants from just about every game system. So I figured we would make a gaming wreath, something to symbolize what this family's really into. And because we have such a long history in gaming, we have all these scrap parts, from fixing controllers from Super Nintendo all the way up to headsets and all kinds of things. So, scavenged the house for what we had and came up with a few interesting things. What I liked best was a GameCube controller, because it kind of has that bow shape to it. And this one I was using for scrap parts because I needed the buttons for another one. And I ended up painting it all a solid, nice blue. I happen to have blue in the house. That's why I chose blue. And everybody in the family likes blue. Again, make it your own. And don't spend any money. So, painted it blue. Kind of looks like a bow. Bow part, bow part, bow, bow. And in the middle, I wrote our family name, Sykes. So this is going to go, see how it's coming together? Alright, what else can I do for gaming stuff? Well, every controller has buttons. Why not put buttons on the Wreath? I ended up scavenging a bunch of caps from things I probably don't need caps, like spray cans. Caps are superfluous, right? So, took a bunch of caps, 8 of them to be precise. A, B, X, Y, up, down, left, right. And I drilled little holes. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Probably. In the side, I just used a butter knife, well, a steak knife. Got some holes in there. And you're going to need a way to fasten it to the Wreath. And fishing line, because probably every house has fishing lines somewhere, and if not, it's stupid cheap. Alright, how does this turn into a button? Well, cleverly. This is where you kind of have to spend some money, if this is where you decide to go with it. I went to Michael's. I braved it in November, not quite as daring as December, but still. They have these neat little clear button things, trying to find an angle you can see what I'm talking about. They're in the jewelry making department. Really have no idea what their actual purpose is. It says bead landing epoxy stickers. Basically they're little tiny clear domes, sticky on the other side. So I drew my triangles on there for my directions, up, down, left, right, in pencil, because I wanted to get it just a shade off of the original cap, because the buttons aren't in any sort of, they're not outlined in any other color on controllers typically, they're just a raised symbol. So between drawing that triangle on there and putting the clear cap, it kind of looks like a button. I'll show you with more buttons. You just peel right off of here. I don't remember how much these were, and for that, I apologize. But chances are I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't just a couple bucks. And worst case scenario, you can always find good coupons on their online flyer. So these are my X, Y, A, B buttons, and what I ended up doing was painting them blue because, like I said, I have blue in the house. And the letters on there, I took just regular little paint things that come in surprisingly everything. I'm terrible at a steady hand, so I had to use a tiny little paintbrush and a lot of strokes. But why? Because I love it. Alright. Clear button on the letter. Rocket science. Alright, got 2 of them down, 3 of them down. Last one. A, B, X, Y. Here's A. Okay. So this is where I'm going to need to get my pause button on. I'm going to thread a bunch of the fishing line through here. Maybe I'll just press play. Depends on how dexterous I can be. Fishing line's kind of invisible. So, what I probably want to do is thread all these through and get them onto the Wreath just kind of place them on there, and then tie them down. Because I have a few things on there that I don't want to have the alignment off. I mean, up, down, left, and right should be pointing up, down, left, and right. So, just gonna kind of place them on there, get an idea where I want to put it. Pause. And ta-da! Just like magic, all the buttons are threaded. That's a lot of buttons. Okay. So, I recommend being liberal with fishing tape because, like I said, it's cheap and there's no need to struggle on it. It's supposed to be a fun project. And none of my triangles on here are very triangular. There are some equilateral, some obtuse, some isosceles even. So I'm just picking the right triangle for the right position. Up is up. Alright, I'm going to separate the garland just a little bit to get the cap right onto the pool noodle and flip it over. I will try to deal with the ball spots that I'm creating after I'm done. They will happen, and I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it, but that's the part about crafting and making stuff and being proud of what you've done. 'Cause part of it is skill, part of it is creativity, and part of it is problem solving and critical thinking and all the things our teachers told us to learn. Okay. Now I did bring this, however, can't seem to manage to use those without burning my hand. So I'm going to try to get this without using that. Alright, welcome back to part 2 of Miranda Speaks Craft Edition. And as you can see, I've got a few of the buttons on the wreath already. I tried tying them on with the fishing line, but apparently it doesn't lend itself well to my style of knot tying. If you happen to be a fisherman and know more knots, or a Boy Scout, or someone who likes tying knots for a hobby, I guess. You have a better way of tying them, go for it. I found it to not be very helpful at all. And the hot glue gun ended up being the way to go. I also discovered that the buttons I was putting on were a bit too tall for what I needed. The buttons that were caps at one point. So I ended up cutting off a ring of plastic just for the sharp blade. If I were to do scissors, plastic is brittle, it would have ended up just snapping my whole button in half. I did not have to learn that the hard way, thankfully. So, I have 7 of the 8 of these buttons on there. I'm going to go ahead and get Y on. Get A and B over here, X and Y. I worked out a few different ways I wanted to do this. I thought about putting A and B right next to each other and X and Y right next to each other because they sometimes are like that on game controllers, but I'm a big fan of symmetry and I just couldn't let myself do that. So we are symmetrical now. All letters are up and down, and we're going to together glue this last one on here. A couple of universal truths when it comes to hot glue guns is you always need more glue than you think you would, or I do. Some people may be way more efficient with it than I am, but I always need more glue than I thought I would. And you also need to remember that that last half of the stick of the glue isn't going to do you any good without something else pushing it through. I happened to have some glue upstairs in my craft pile of stuff to call upon when the urge hits, and it happened to be glitter green. Totally lucked out. Because like I said, if you can avoid buying something, do. Avoid buying it. Make it instead. Okay, so we're done with the hot glue gun. I'm unplugging it for now. I might regret that later. We'll see. We're winging it. Okay, up, down, left, right, AB, XY. I'm going to want to find a way to connect this to the wreath. It's very convenient that it's got its own wire here. So, I'm going to put it right underneath the down button, which I purposely had a little bit high on here so that I could have room for this. Probably still going to need to work around it to make sure I don't block it. Alright. I'm going to go around that side of the button. Like this. Have not thought this part through, but that's the fun part about crafts, is winging it and seeing what you're capable of coming up with. Alright. So, I think that's a little low. And that is asymmetrical and blocks my button. So, instead, we're going to wrap it the other way. With the wire coming up bottom. I remember cables being this long. Unless you're sitting far away from the TV, then they're never long enough. Okay. Instead, I'm going to have that coming out the bottom so that I can stick it pretty close to the button without the cable blocking it. Alright, come up this way instead. I won't try to kid you, sometimes there are some frustrating things about making your own stuff, but it does help make you more proud when you're all done. Because I think I'm really going to like this one. Alright, I'm going to wrap this around the wreath a few times. It's a gamer wreath, and gamer cables get wrapped around everything all the time. Oh, it looks like it just buries itself in anyway. I don't have to worry about it being visible. You do need to make sure it's nice and tight though. You don't want the door to slam and then the controller kind of flying off of it. Also, in gluing the buttons on, like I mentioned before, there's a little bit some bald spots happening between the garland. I've kind of tested it out. You can work the garland around to cover it. I'm not going to really worry about that till the end because this isn't quite finished and bound to make more bald spots. Alright. Remember that time way back when I said I'd regret turning off the hot glue gun? Alright. Plug it back in. This is convenient. Alright. Probably still hot. Hopefully still hot. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this here on the back of the wreath so nobody really sees it. Even though I had debated at one point sticking ends of long dead controllers all over here kind of as bits of decoration. I may end up putting a pin through that to help secure it better, but I think for right now that should do the trick. I also don't want to flip that over until it's dry. That's another awesome thing about hot glue guns. Dry fast. Man, this thing just got super heavy. Okay. So, we're getting there. now it looks like a Super Gamer wreath, and I'd like to bring it back to a Christmassy feel to it. So I have these. There used to be a whole string of snowflake lights, but the battery wore out on them. Thankfully, it was a whole song thing. I didn't know how to turn it off. It was a couple Christmases. Still going in the box in the attic. Okay, so I'm just going to attempt to be as random as possible. I don't particularly like random. I like symmetry. But what do you think? Dangling or on the wreath itself? Dangle. I'm going to just place a few of them on here. I know it's not being random. I know I'm sticking in between the buttons. There happens to be just enough snowflakes. I cannot resist symmetry if it's going to happen on its own. Don't judge me. Oh, I do. It has to happen. It's going between the buttons. Okay. I'm going to try to make my life a little bit easier. And for this, I'm just, because there's a string of wires, a string of snowflakes, and I cut them off like that. I'm just going to tie these wires onto the garland. It's going to allow me to kind of move it around on here and make my life pretty easy. My glue gun is still plugged in again, so I may try to secure it a little more if I feel it moves around too much. But I think just tying this in a double knot should be fine. Okay. Now, I would imagine I'm going to check on this video pretty frequently. So if you had ideas for your own wreath, but I'm running into some snags on how to execute it, put a comment on there, and maybe if I get something that can help you out, an idea or a tip, I'll certainly comment on it. And see if we can't create something awesome. Alright, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 out of 8 done. And I had contemplated putting some spray snow on here, like the stuff you put on your windows. But I don't have any, and like I said, I avidly resist buying things if I don't have to. And my husband does not like snow. So, even fake snow is not a very good representation of our family. So I'm going to leave the fake snow off. If you are brave and want to do it on your wreath, I strongly suggest either trying it on a section of garland you didn't put on the wreath before, or maybe spray it on the back of it. I don't know how well it, how good it looks on the fake garland and stuff. I don't know if it would just end up practically painting the thing white or what. So test it when in doubt, and probably always be in doubt. Perhaps it's going to bite you in the butt if you don't think ahead sometimes. Let's see. This is coming together. I have no idea where I picked them up. Probably some sort of post-Christmas sale or something. I found these little snowflake bits in my bin of superfluous craft stuff. So I might try to work them on here. I think I might put them on the controller. I don't know. We'll see once these snowflakes go on. I might be a little too busy for that. We'll see. Kind of feel like we're heavy on the blue and white, or blue and clear. I may want to incorporate some red, or I might want to incorporate some red on here. I did take the liberty when I was at work. I saw some scrap wire. It was red and green, and because it was wire, and given the theme I was going with, I thought it might be useful. I twisted the wire together, and I thought that I could use that as garland, an additional garland around my wreath. I'm not quite sure if I want to do that or not. Like I said, we'll see how these snowflakes look after putting them on, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Where's that popping out? I don't know how people of Pinterest normally do this, but I know that generally my crafts are just kind of a winged idea and see how it works. I would like to think that nobody comes up with those brilliant Pinterest plans just out of their head, you know. Just, oh, magically make it perfect the first time. So, I'm sure I've said it before, but if something doesn't quite go according to plan, don't let it beat you up. It may be just a way for you to reinvent your project. Any sort of mistake, any sort of bungling of your original plan can be overcome. It can go a different way. It can have a different look than you originally thought and might end up looking even cooler. The really only thing you can't quite overcome is if you burn something. You can't unburn something. So don't burn anything. Which reminds me, I'm going to go ahead and plug this glue gun again. Okay. Second to last snowflake here. I would be curious to see if anyone who comes over the house who hasn't seen this video, of course, recognizes this as being a game of Wreath. I want it to pass as a normal wreath, but then be like, hey, that's X, Y, A, B, up, down, left, right, and then it gets roller. These people are total geeks. I'm a geek. I own it. I can't find this garland loop. Yes, no. Almost there. Ha, here we go. I do like the idea of adding some red in here. I don't know if the wire is the way to go. I'm probably going to add on this. Maybe every year if I see something that looks really cool. Because right now what I'm thinking in my head is tiny little like old style light bulb things. Like, you know, they had the earrings that look like Christmas light bulbs. Something like that in red, just kind of hook them through here. So I might just keep my eyes open for something like that after Christmas if it's some super crazy, you know, 90% off sale, which is totally the time to buy this stuff. Not going to a craft store in December. So scary. The lines. You find stuff. Which is whether or not you brought a sleeping bag to get through the line. That's the hard part. Alright, especially with a toddler. Mine, very good in lines. Not craft store in December lines though. Okay. Now, hey, those wires sticking out don't look too bad. I'll just leave those. Check it out. We have a gamma wreath. This wreath is a good representation of something my family loves. This is going on my family's door. And my family is going to be, is going to be proud of this. Because this is, and I'm proud of this. See? Face of pride. And I hope that you can find something that when you see this and you think of your family, you'll bring something together and come up with something that works for you and yours. So, good luck crafting. Send me a message if you got any cool ideas for new videos. I might do a couple of after the fact videos of things that I've made, just kind of get a stockpile of videos out there. But if you got any ideas, send me a message or make a comment and keep crafting. Thanks.